Hello, I am Giuseppe Lupino from the Institute of Transport and Logistics. I'm very sorry not to be there in Gothenburg, but I would like to show you what we carried out in our Surf Instant project in Ravenna, in Italy, where we defined a roadmap for setting up a zero-emission urban freight zone within the city of Ravenna, which is one of the most important cities in Emilia-Romagna region and has got around 160,000 inhabitants. The Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan in Ravenna was approved in 2019 and it is now under revision. This revision is an opportunity to include a zero-emission zone. Both pedestrian areas and limited traffic zones are already available and active. However, urban freight traffic is still a problem, especially in the city center. Ravenna usually involved local stakeholders in a constructive dialogue, but the introduction of a zero-emission zone is particularly challenging, so the aim was to co-create and co-decide the steps leading to a zero-emission zone together with the stakeholders. So the very heart of our work in SURF consisted in the activation of a freight quality partnership on the matter of zero-emission zones, supported by a qualitative survey and background research on good practices. We organized 3 meetings for the freight quality partnership, which were held online and included the relevant stakeholders. Other meetings, as a consequence of Surf Instant project, followed between the municipality of Ravenna and the main stakeholders. Stakeholders, which are trade associations, retailers, shop owners, logistics operators, other departments of the municipality of Ravenna, and as a special guest, also cargo bikers or transport operators. 3 keywords were the basis for our work with the stakeholders. The stand for the possibility of gradually testing new measures, have a step-by-step approach with them, and to always consult relevant stakeholders as well. During the meetings, we discussed several issues related to the urban freight distribution in the city center and the possibility of implementing zero-emission deliveries, also considering the important targets set by the European Commission. It was also possible to organize some keynote speeches from special guests, like as cargo bike companies, express couriers, other cities of the Emilia-Romagna region, with the aim to share the experiences and provide inputs which will be available for the definition of the new business models. To introduce the new measure to stakeholders, we proposed to implement this test in only one street. We were surprised to understand that stakeholders asked to consider the entire city center as a zero-emission zone and not only the pilot area. We promoted a survey to better understand the perception that shops have towards the possibility of a zero-emission zone. Answers highlighted that, generally speaking, shops do not have a negative attitude towards a zero-emission zone. Another interesting result concerned the reaction of the stakeholders. They complained with a formal letter regarding the topic. Reading between the lines, it is clear that the stakeholders are confused by a possible changes that a zero-emission zone could bring afterwards. One of the main stakeholders' concerns is the cost for transport operators to switch to zero-emission vehicles and the economic impact on the shops. Other topics were the impact of e-commerce, B2C, and the loading-unloading bays availability for transport operators. Following these inputs, a measure that could be implemented in the short period is the booking of loading-unloading bays, or measures to increase the availability of such areas for transport operators. The booking system was discussed during the Freight Quality Partnership. Somebody raised the enforcement problem, but the solution proposed and already tested in Bologna, which is the capital city of the Emilia-Romagna region, is quite flexible and technology-based. So the roadmap developed with the stakeholders has allowed us to identify the topics to be developed in further logistics studies, but resources should be dedicated also to investigate how SURF impacts can be mitigated and how to convince stakeholders that zero emission zones can be beneficial. Finally, the disagreement with the stakeholders has sparked more discussion, also at political level, on the innovation and on innovative logistics measures. So now we have some key elements about the stakeholders. Involvement of stakeholders is very important. How to communicate the measure to the stakeholders. Co-creation and co-design from the beginning with the stakeholders, and consider to invest more time in the dialogue with people. This instant project provided really useful insight, and we would like to say thank you to SURF project. A special thanks from Ravenna, from Nicola Scanferla, Giorgia Rambaldi, Eleonora Tu, and Giuseppe Lupino. Thank you for your attention.